get started today. So we're going to start working through the plantar fascia. So from heel to the ball of the foot. So if you've got a lacrosse ball, it could be a golf ball, spiky ball, tennis ball. If that's all you've got, that's totally fine. So we're going to start, and you can roll from the ball to the heel. Going onto the heel is not going to make too much difference. Rolling through there and making sure that you're getting up into this medial part as well. So you might roll the whole length. So the fibers go in that direction. You might decide, if you get a really good tender spot, that you might decide to hang on that. So you'll just stand on that and push it. Gravity is going to work anyway, so you could use that as a trigger point to try and relax over the body or over the foot. Or you can cross fiber. So because the fiber direction is going this way, if we're coming across it, and with that you can roll into that medial portion of the foot. One of the attachments for plantar fascia is there, but also if you're getting shin splints coming down where we've worked before with tibialis posterior, that comes around and attaches at a very similar spot. And switching to the other side. So this one you're always wanting to work on, obviously if you're sore under the foot, if your calves are tight, and play around with the different ways of moving it. So what worked on one side may not be as good on the other side, so just try different ways of using it. And at least you can do this seated as well. So some people will say have the ball under the desk at work and just pull it out because no one can see while you're sitting there working away. You can actually get some rolling done. Okay, so let's take a seat, and with your spiky ball, or if you've got tennis ball, that's fine. So we'll work through the calf. So we're going to have the ball you can go from the outside of the calf, come all the way across to the inside. So if we're starting out here, you can go all the way across to the inside. You might find a spot and just cross over that. Or you might like to just pop the ball down, and you can slowly move that ankle through range of motion. So basically pinning and stretching that muscle. So you want to point the toes all the way down. You might hold it for a second or two and then bring them up. If you're not finding too much in that area, move and find another spot. So you will have discomfort, but if we're not after pain per se. Okay, when you're ready, switching to the other side. So again, you can start outside to inside. Just little crosses, pointing that foot. And you might find that if you've got a niggle side, or not an injured side, but you've had a side that's maybe a little weaker than the other over time from injuries on the other side, you might find that this one's holding a little more tension, doesn't move as well. People always say, how many times do you need to do this on the same spot? It's different for everybody, and it's different each time for you. So it might be 3, 5, 10 goes. and then that ankle will start moving smoother.
Sorry, Kelly, did you swap legs yet?
Sorry?
Did you swap legs yet?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was
okay.
interruption this end.
That's okay. So the other way that you can work on that calf, if you're out, you don't have the ball, but you need to, is you can just sit there, pop your thumbs in underneath, get those thumbs in and just work through the calf. You can do that same movement. Okay. So if you've got a band or a towel, or you've got the power band, if anyone has these, they're actually quite useful. So if you have a towel, that's better because the TheraBands are a bit too thin. So to stretch the calf, is you can put that towel or that band around. It doesn't matter which leg you do, just choose one to start with. And then you can pull back to get a stretch through the calf. The reason that I prefer something a bit thicker is these ones, you've got to pull a fair bit to try and get anything. If you have the power bands, if anyone has them at home, you can also put them over the back and just let the foot do the work itself. So get that stretch. And you're not having to do too much. Then what you can also do, so this is where a towel is really good for this stretch. You're going to relax that foot down and twist that foot slightly. So we're going to twist the foot to the outside and then pull it. So towel is definitely better for this. So then we're working into the soleus. So you should be feeling it on the outside, and then twist the foot in and pull back. Okay, and you should feel it on the inside. So the soleus muscle is underneath the gastroc, so the main part of your calf. So it's always a nice one to do. And switch to the other side. So both the gastroc and the soleus make up your calf. So pulling that foot straight back. Do it on the side. So pulling straight back. And then relaxing and twisting the foot inwards and pulling in, pulling the band or the towel towards yourself. And relaxing, twisting the foot out and bringing back. So you're not going to get as much movement with twisting the foot to the outside. Structurally, we just don't have that movement. Okay, and relaxing. So while we're here, we'll work through tibialis anterior, so the shin bone at the front. So if I bring that and contract, we're working this muscle here. So finding your tibia bone, coming from the middle towards the outside, just popping your fingers in, you can lift that slightly off the ground. And again, go through that range of motion. So moving those fingers around to different parts. For anyone, if you have longer nails, you can use the ball to just push on the muscle instead. You might try it anyway, because it does give a broader surface area. And switching sides. So again, just finding that tibia bone, coming to the outside, popping the fingers in. So particularly if you've been running a lot of uphill, this is going to be shortened. If you've been doing on the bike, long rides anyway, because of that constant pull, but also if you've been doing probably more your strength efforts in your lower gears or big gears, low cadence, because you're really going to be working through and scraping that foot. Okay, while we're here, we'll work through tibialis posterior. So finding again that tibia bone, and we're coming on the inside of the leg. So popping the foot on the other side, you can start from the knee. You might palpate into that bone the whole way down. Go right down to just above the ankle bone. Find a little tender spot, little nodule, stick your finger in there, and you can bring that hand out and push in towards the tibia and slowly go through that range of motion. I'll take that hand away. You can again use the ball into that. You don't need to put a huge amount of pressure, because if you put too much, you're not going to be able to move the ankle. You're going to get more than enough when you start moving. So just palpate along, find another spot. You can also bring those thumbs out and push in towards the tibia so that you're bringing that thumb over on top of the bone. If you're finding that you just need to get a little bit of extra freedom, a little bit of extra movement through there. And switching to the other side. So this is a really good one to do seated on a chair, because obviously you can cross that leg up a bit easier than on the floor. So just palpating down. I'll just use one hand so you can see. Find that spot. So it might be a bit lower, a bit higher on the other side. Finding that spot and then going through that range. So this one and the last one are when people have shin splints and you're trying to work out which one is causing it. But this is an easy one that you can, all of these you can do if you're out running, you start getting a really tight spot. Just stop 30 seconds or a minute. Just work through this spot. Okay. Now to complete the lower leg, we'll work through the perineals. So the outside from the ankle to the knee, along that fibula bone. If you've got the smaller ball, the lacrosse ball is better. Otherwise, you can use your spiky ball. Your tennis ball is fine. So we're going to sit, we're going to be working underneath here. So getting the ball, you're going to pop it underneath and you can roll along, or you can just find a spot, hang on that. You might do little movements, or again you can do that, moving that ankle. Or you can just use your body weight to push down on that area. So again, it's all about seeing what works for you individually, and what works today might be different to tomorrow or what you did last week. Okay, when you're ready, switching to the other side. Sometimes it's really nice to work through, I break up the lower leg into the 4 compartments. So your front, your back, and the 2 sides, the lateral and the medial. Especially for you guys, you're certainly using all of those components. I find this is working through the perineals is one that you tend to get some real good clicks and clunks through that ankle with range. And if your ITB has been tight, then you always want to come down and work through the perineals just because of that continuous line of fascia coming through. Okay. All right, so taking that ball away, we're moving to a stretch for the back. So if you've got your pillow or your foam roller, we're just going to place the knees over that and then fold forward into that position so that we're getting a nice stretch through the back here. If you're feeling it too much in the hamstrings, just bring yourself upright a little more and fold into that because we want the overriding stretch through the back. So this is called butterfly position in yin yoga. Nice one to do in the morning once you've woken up. Stretch that back out. So once you've found your position, just taking a big breath in, and as you breathe out, relax the glutes, relax the hamstrings. Try and switch those muscles off and let the fascia do the work. So in these yin poses, we're only going to that first point of stretch. We're not reaching down for the toes and trying to get as close as we can. Just relax that and slowly ease into the position. And if you've lost that stretch, you might just fold a little further forward. And taking a big breath in, breathing it all out, and bringing yourself back upright. You can keep your legs there. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist through the spine. So moving, twisting to that left, putting that hand flat on the floor instead of up on your fingers because that will tend to shift the shoulder up. Hand flat, you can use your right hand on your knee, or if you've got a foam roller, wherever you need to twist. And just move until you get a nice twist through that whole thoracic spine. You might find every couple of breaths on the out breath. So as you breathe out, you might get a little bit more twist. And take a big breath in. As you breathe out, just return yourself back to the center. You might take a moment, then when you're ready, moving to the other side. So placing that left hand behind, right hand, left hand on the knee or your foam roller, and just twist around. Again, always just going to that very first point of stretch. Because as you hold it, you'll relax, you'll lose that stretch sensation, and then you'll just search for the next point. And taking a big breath in. As you breathe out, just return yourself back to the center. Move anything out from under the knees. We're going to move into a hamstring. So finding your spiky ball, placing it under the hamstring. So we can start from the outside, move across to the inside of the leg. You might find an area and just do little cross fibers on that spot. Or if you need to apply more direct pressure, you can get hold of that opposite knee and bring yourself forward to apply pressure on that hamstring. So you can, depending on whether you feel like it, you can roll a bit. If you're like me and you have hyperextended knees, I find that doesn't work as well for me, but if you don't, it might be quite good. You can work right up to that hamstring attachment. So on Billy here, we're working right up to this point, bottom of the pelvis, up into there. So to do that, you might be in a bit more of a bend the knees up, come right into that pelvis area. So where the tendon attaches to the bone. And so always moving around, finding different spots, not just staying at that one area. And when you're ready, switching to the other leg, or if you feel you need to spend a bit longer there, that's okay. So putting the ball could be outside, rolling across. And always making sure when you're using the ball that you're not coming into the back of the knee in through, think of this as a diamond in through here. So we never want to have the ball right in the back of the knee there. So it's an engagement area, which means that there's no muscle covering that. There's only one muscle right deep in that area. So you don't need to stick the ball in there. Okay, so if you need, taking hold of that opposite leg and bringing yourself forward. Sometimes this helps you identify areas that you didn't realise were tight as well. All right, so taking that ball away, we're moving to a stretch for the hamstring. So I'll give you two options. This will just depend on people's knees, how much movement you've got. So the first one is half butterfly. So keeping that right leg straight, bending that left leg so it's not jamming up here. It's just a slight, if you've got a block or a small pillow, popping that under the knee, just so that that leg becomes passive. And you're folding forward to get a stretch in that right hamstring. If you've got a bolster or your foam roller or a pillow, you might just hold on to that. Or the other option is hurdler. So keeping that right leg straight, taking that left leg behind, and again, folding forward. If you've got something to hold on to, you might do that. You might experiment with both, because you'll find most likely that each pose will target a different part of the hamstring. So once you've found your preferred position, taking a big breath in, as you breathe out, just relaxing glutes, hamstring, lower back, and just sinking into that position. Going to that first point of stretch. Always searching for that. So if you've lost that stretch, you might fold a little further forward. Taking a big breath in, breathing it all out, bringing yourself back up. You might straighten those legs out, have a little bit of a shake out before you move to the next side. So if you're going into half butterfly, left leg straight, bending that right knee, popping something underneath and folding forward, or into hurdler is taking that right leg behind and folding forward. And just again being aware that this can be quite different on either side. You might have more range or you might have less range. But taking a big breath in, and as you breathe out, relax the hamstrings, the glutes, that lower back. Let all those muscles go. And taking a big breath in, breathing it all out, bringing yourself out of that position. And now finding your way into a rebound. So you might choose to lay on your back. And then this is just letting the body relax, taking a moment after working through both sides. Or you might choose to be on your stomach, pop your head on your hands. Or you can put your arms down by your side and turn your head to one side. And taking a big breath in, breathing it all out and rolling yourselves onto your stomach. So finding your spiky ball or your tennis ball. We're going to work through quads. So laying down, you're going to put that ball under the quad. Okay, bend that knee up. And then again, you can roll inside to outside. You might just find a little area and go across. Or you can, it's an option, you don't have to do it, is to straighten that leg out. And only go to what your range is and then bring it back. And making sure that you're moving through different parts of the quad. Or you can just sink down on the ball, just relax into the ball. And you might find that you feel like you're jumping over muscles. It's because you're moving from one of the quadricep muscles to the next. If you're working lower down to the knee, down to here, it's where we get a lot of those tendons, or the quadricep tendons coming in towards the knee. So sometimes they get quite tight. And so doing a little bit of that cross fiber over that area can help. From this position, you can also roll into working the adductor muscle. So from being here, you might turn that leg, if your hips and your back are okay, you can work into the adductor. So your upper body is still fairly flat on the floor, but it's turning that leg out, bringing that ball up on the inside. So just see what you feel. If you feel like adductors you'd like to work on. Okay, and then when we're ready, we'll move into the TFL, so tensor fasciae latae. So if you're not sure where to find that, it's your hip flexor muscle. So you might bend that knee slightly, put the hands towards the outside of the hip, and just bring that knee up, but then open it out and feel that muscle underneath there. Popping the ball on that spot down on the floor, and you're going to basically hug the floor. We've got very small movements. It's a small muscle, so very small movements back and forth. You can just sink over it like a trigger point and just try and relax the body. Or you can bend that knee up. That's an option. So you might feel this one down at the knee. And when you're ready, moving that ball to the other side, to the other quad. So moving, you might roll the whole way inside to the outside. You might just push down. You can slowly straighten that leg. It doesn't have to be all the way. So if your quad's quite tight, you might feel that the whole length of the quad. And if you like, you can move into the adductor, so rolling on the side. So turning that leg out. And then when you're ready, or you can stay there if you need a bit longer, we'll move into TFL for that other side. So popping the ball down, coming into that TFL, come down to hug the floor. So you might just try and relax the body over it, or do little side to side movements. You can bend that knee. So again, you might feel this down in the knee, and that's because the ITB is attaching on the outside. Okay, coming off that. So if you find your TheraBand or a towel, you're going to stretch the quad. So popping that around the foot, coming down and laying on your stomach. So trying to keep those knees closer together and not far apart. So once you've found your position, taking a big breath in, and as you breathe out, relaxing the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings, just letting all those muscles relax. And then using that band and pulling that foot. So you're moving your foot towards your glute. It doesn't have to be touching it. So it's just going to that first point of stretching the quad. Once you lose that stretch, you might pull it a bit tighter. And on an out breath, slowly relax that band down, changing to the other side. By finding that position. And once you've got that position there, taking a big breath in. As you breathe out, relaxing all of the muscles and then pulling the band. So working through quads and TFL can be really good, especially if you're working from home at the moment, spending a lot more time sitting. Because when you're sitting, you're already in that flex position of the hip. And then sitting on a bike, you're in hip flexion. Running, you're using that. So these can be really nice ones to use. And on an out breath, slowly relaxing that band down. So you might like to come out of that, come into a melting heart. So just push back, stretch out that upper body. And then coming out of that, go into dragon's pose, which is your typical hip flexor stretch, your psoas. So keeping that right leg down, taking the left leg forward to get a stretch through that right hip flexor. So you can lunge forward, but I tend to find you lose it if you're going too far forward. So I always just come back and I'll exaggerate. So if you're leaning forward with that pelvis, is actually tucking that pelvis under, and I find that increases that nicely. Making sure that with this left leg, if you're jamming coming straight forward, move the hip out. So you don't need to be jamming into that. Take that away. You can also take that arm up overhead. That can also give you a nice good stretch through the obliques as well. And relaxing down and moving to the other side. So when you're ready, taking that right leg forward, stretching. So as I say, you might tuck that pelvis under, take that other foot out, find where you're getting it stretched. It should be through here. And you might take that arm to the side. And just coming out of that position. Right, to finish, we'll open up through the front of the spine. So laying down on your stomach. Now you might find, if you don't have a lot of range through the back, that you might have your head on your fist. If you've got more range, coming up into Sphinx, so up into your elbows, shoulder width apart. So we're working to stretch through the front of the spine or the abdominals. If you've got your foam roller or a nice big pillow, you might pop that underneath so that you can sink your belly into that. If you need even more, you can push up into seal. But taking a big breath in, and as you breathe out, relaxing the back, the glutes, trying to settle that front of the pelvis down towards the floor. If you've got your head dropped down, see what happens when you lift up to eye level, is that you should increase the stretch through the front of the spine. You might need to push a little higher to keep having that stretch, keep finding that stretch. And taking a big breath in, breathing it all out. And then as you come out of that position, then finding your final rebound. So if you've got a pillow, you might like to put that under the knees, laying down on your back. This is our final resting position. You may not have that. You may prefer to do a pentacle, so a starfish instead, or you may choose to lay on your stomach. So you can run through a scan of the body yourself. So starting from the feet, working through the body up to the crown of the head. You might choose to focus on your breathing or just lay there and relax. Taking a big breath in, breathing it all out. And another 2 in your own time. And then coming up into an upright position. Whenever you're ready, you might do a few movements before you bring yourself fully upright.